And on that day, I had not one, but 2 dates. Oh, fuck. Sometimes the trees get in my way of walking. How low can you go? Neuroplasticity, the ability to build new neural pathways with intentional practice over time, is magic. And the reason I know that firsthand is because I've been able to break sex and love addiction and attachment wounds and rewire my nervous system for success. And I'm doing it every single day. And I started dating recently, again, dating without disaster, dating post divorce, and dating in sex and love addiction. I don't like to call it recovery, but sex and love addiction awareness, right? And I always say, I like to use my youthfulness like my white privilege to help other people. And that's the truth. Welcome to another episode of the Me IRL pod with your host, Lauren Friedman, also known as Not Another Healing Asshole. This podcast, we our lives in real life together through the lens of nervous system literacy for all, the art and science of connection. And what I'm really excited to share with you today is really the crux of why I'm actually in market talking about this, because neuroplasticity, the ability to build new neural pathways with intentional practice over time, is magic. And the reason I know that firsthand is because I've been able to break sex and love addiction and attachment wounds and rewire my nervous system for success. And I'm doing it every single day. And I started dating recently, again, dating without disaster, dating post divorce, and dating in sex and love addiction. I don't like to call it recovery, but sex and love addiction awareness, right? And I've always been anti dating apps, but when you are isolated, it's a good way to diversify engagement. And often I've been finding a lot of these dates for me personally haven't felt romantic, but if the person's so inclined and they want to stay in touch or they want to work together, we found ways to do that. So I've increased some of my consulting clients and I've helped people find resources and just help them reframe things, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I get it now. And the coolest part is that I see things so differently than I did even a year ago, even 6 months ago. And I've been able to really change the way I engage with men. And I see it now how men are, engaging with me. And it's clear for me to see how they have their own anxieties and their own insecurities and their own attachment wounds, and they're following up with me differently and engaging with me differently. And, I always say, reframe pain, release shame, and reclaim power. And that's truly how this happens in real life. And today I've had like the craziest, longest day. I've been actually editing all the podcasts. I took a little breather in the month of June to just film a lot and to do some offline in-person marketing, to start to date, to scale my consulting, to take advantage of some networking opportunities. I spent the day on Saturday at the Biohackers World Conference, which was awesome. I'm going to show some pics here of the red light therapies. When you're leaving after like a 1 o'clock ferry and the conference that you're going to start at 9 a.m. But you know what? At least I'm going. Sometimes that's half the battle, is just getting there. And I look super cute. This is awesome, actually. When it rains, it pours. This is my second date of the day, and I had a conference earlier today. A former iteration of myself wouldn't have eaten on dates, even if the date didn't feel like a date and wasn't a date, it wasn't romantic for me. And then I ate when I got home, and then I still put on this amazing dress, because as it turns out, I don't have to starve myself anymore now that I have my blood sugar regulated and I learned how to live in my body. And this nice gentleman who lives nearby was like, hey, you want to meet for an app or a drink? So I was like, YOLO, right? It's what I'm doing instead of editing my podcast, but it's all for a purpose. And it's so amazing because I had a low-grade migraine. And on that day, I had not one, but 2 dates. And I told my therapist yesterday, that, I don't have one person that I feel that I could just like chill with. Like everywhere I go, I'm always reintroducing myself. I had to get really comfortable in the uncomfortable. And I've been uncomfortable my whole life, arguably, but I've had to find safety in that same time, right? And it's really hard when you lose everything and everything you've ever known, and people are working against you, and people have been working against me my whole life. But now I have the power, and I have the power to change my own destiny and to change my whole life. And that is through nervous system literacy. And now I know how to listen to my body, and it allows me to inform every single decision I make. And the most impactful thing has been when I stopped drinking and I realized my issue was sex and love. I took a real long amount of time to really get to know myself, to rewire my nervous system for success. And so now that I've been dating again, I mean, I have changed everything about me. I haven't felt attracted to any person that I have gone out on dates with. I have to be honest. I like organic is really just my personal preference. And, I've also been very upfront. Like, I'm not trying to have a one night stand or a quick, like the old me, lots of men have approached me with like, yeah, I'd love to find a regular, hookup on a consistent basis, all the things I used to want, right? And, that used to be my dream, like having a consistent local hookup on a regular basis or somewhat local. And now that's not what I want at all. Like I just spent the last 20 years in a really dysfunctional relationship that turned into a marriage that turned into an effing nightmare. And I now am back on the scene, but healthy and regulated and literally rewired for success. And I feel so grateful for this ability to have this perspective and to have the ability to engage differently. And I see how I'm engaging differently. Like men text me and I don't respond all the time. There's no reason to. I also say like, hey, I'm not interested in this. I'm not going to do this. This doesn't work for me. I speak my truth. I stopped living in shame. Thank you so much for watching the On Me IRL pod. If you want to support the mission, the quickest way to do that is to hit the subscribe button. Also, what really helps algorithmically is to like, share, comment. If you have any thoughts, drop it in the comments below. I'm happy to respond to all of them. I will be responding personally. Also, if any of the, a few of my favorite things, my affiliate partnerships, are interesting to you, you could find them all in the link above, including but not limited to Equip Protein, Built Bars, Slate's not on there yet because they don't have an affiliate program, but Recess, Routine, and Camuso Design, all things to help you stay sane, hydrated, and aligned in your power. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. And I had an opportunity last week to speak my truth to a family member that's very extended that we had been we've been intentionally not in contact with for many decades. And after my mom's death, I reconnected with them. And they reached out last week and they're like, hey, how are you doing? And I appreciate the checking in, but I was like, I had to speak my truth. I had to say, hey, the things that transpired in the 90s still affect my life today because they live inside my nervous system. And they're the reasons that I ended up in this really dangerous situation because of your behavior, my family's behavior, and then what transpired after that. Like I was breaking up fights with my parents at the same time I had rocks thrown at me in school, being bullied in a new school district. And I remember looking out my window thinking, I'm going to do something one day to help others with my story. And I didn't know what my story was or how crazy it was going to get. But my dad had planted the seed in my head around that same time that our souls choose our families before we're born. And, as I've said, he grew up in the projects in East New York on welfare. My mom was first generation escaping the Holocaust. So epigenetic trauma is very real and it becomes pronounced through environmental factors. And it's really sad when you think about how we treat each other when we just want to love each other. And I see that so clearly now. Also, agency, discernment, calmness all comes from a regulated nervous system. And it doesn't mean that you have to be calm all the time. It just means that you know how to get back there again. You know how to connect with yourself so you're not stuck in a state of dysregulation and it doesn't get you sick. And you do know how to speak your truth because you feel aligned in your truth, in your power, in your body. And I've been able to do that in such different ways, right? No one ever looked at me and thought, she can't, she doesn't stand up for herself. I've been my whole life, everyone's always looked at me like, hey, you're the leader. You should be a leader. I've had C-suite literally say to me for decades, they're like, you should be in a leadership role. I'm like, great, put me in one. But as soon as they have the opportunity, they decide to get rid of my whole team instead and then blame me for it. And or they look at me, they're like, oh, like a boyfriend breaking up with you, like, oh, you're such a good employee. I was like, I know, you shouldn't be getting rid of me. But here we are. And the thing is that I wasn't meant to do that. Like someone I met with the last few weeks, he's like, go where you're celebrated. And I was like, I don't need a ticker tape parade. I just need people to value me enough to not destroy my life. And I spent my whole life with people that didn't know how to find peace in their own mind and body, despite every single resource possible. And then, they projected that volatility onto me. And I grew up in a way that made me seek out dysfunction or thrive in chaos. Like I used to think I thrived in chaos. And I don't. I thrive in calmness. And, my ex-husband and I lived together for many years. And I used to think that I thrived with him. That was one of the reasons I stayed with him for so long because, I felt that I lost all this weight with him. I felt like my career skyrocketed when I lived with him. But in reality, I should have left many years ago. It has not been working for me forever. And my body has been literally trying to speak to me about it. So today I had a hair appointment. Obviously, that's why we're doing this today. And I had some photo shoots with an amazing photographer. Her name is Beth. She is just awesome. It is really a sad song. It's like melancholy. What's up? And I'll leave her information in the info for this episode as well, because she's just amazing. And we had a photo shoot and I came back inside and I was going to record something, not because I wanted to, because I'm already backlogged with all of the editing. And the thing is like, I also I messed up the editing so much because I removed the source files and then I just got rid of everything. So I had to redo everything. And again, the universe is always on time, right? Divine timing. So I'm not worried anymore. I'm going to get content out when I need to get it out. But I didn't really feel like it, right? And I'm not about pushing myself to do things that are not aligned with me any longer. But my hair looked really good. So I was like, I got to record something. But before that, my building ended up replacing my dishwasher, which my building is just amazing. And my dishwasher was probably from when the unit was built, over a decade ago. And I use it a lot. I cook. I've had to learn a whole new way of living. And there were times I remember for years, I didn't have food in my fridge. My ex and I ordered in all the time. We wasted so much money that we didn't even know we didn't have. And, it makes me feel like such a schmuck, honestly. And so I've been doing everything I can to save money as much as possible, whatever that looks like these days. And a lot of it has to do with making food. And so I use my dishwasher often, but it is ahead of a holiday weekend. So I was like, hey, I'm really sorry. This can wait until after the holiday. And they fixed it today, but then it was running and it was really loud. So I didn't want to record while it was running because they wanted to test it. So I'm hopping on here because I do have another date tonight, because what I'm trying to do is just meet as many people as possible and have healthy engagement. If I'm not feeling it romantically, I'm not going to pretend that it's there. And the best part about this for me personally is that I don't drink anymore. So I don't feel like I owe somebody anything. Even if you take me to dinner, I don't eat that much. So I don't owe you anything. And that ability to not owe anybody anything, to not feel responsible for any type of engagement and being able to speak my truth about it is literally liberating. It's something that gives me power. It gives me freedom, and it gives me the ability to feel safe. And at the end of the day, all we want out of relationships are safety. And when you can't find safety in yourself, it's impossible to find it in others. And safety is something that we aren't really taught how to find in ourselves. But in order to find healing and recover from any type of addiction, you need to find safety in yourself, so you're not outsourcing it to others or to addictions or trying to escape yourself or self-abandon. And it's really hard, but it's also easier when you know how to connect to yourself and you also remember how powerful you are. And I find myself in these engagements, I'm totally different. I speak differently. There's people that have recently have been like, hey, can you consult with me on this? And I'm like, this doesn't work for me. I can't do that. I'm not doing that. What's really funny is somebody recently wanted me it was someone that lived locally, and they were like, hey, can you wake me up in the morning? And I'm like, bro, I don't think you understand. Like, up until 2024, but really 2025, I could barely wake up in the morning. I stayed with my ex-husband for so long because he used to wake me up in the morning. And when I started traveling on the road for business, I really was able to get my life to a place where I would wake myself up. Like, that was a concern for a long time, but it's just crazy because like I can do that. But do I want to wake up a grown man? I really don't. And I could do other things with my time that's better than that, right? That's not like really one of my services. So I'm also able to communicate like, hey, this doesn't work for me. Whereas in the past, I would be so desperate just to make money, just to do anything, that I would say yes to everything, whether it was dating, in relationships, in friends, even if I knew when my body was wrong. I got arrested in a liquor store on May 23rd. I think I mentioned in a previous episode of 2002. No, 2003. And I didn't know how to listen to my body, but I knew I did not want to go to that liquor store that night because I wasn't even there for myself. I was there for the girl that I was living with that wasn't actually like, I was moved from my RA job, which I didn't want to be an RA anyway, but I knew exactly what to say and all the things to do because I just know how to do things. And like I grew up in that environment. I even won I even won an area anti-drinking campaign bulletin board contest like the month before I got fired for having a case race with my floor, which I also didn't want to do, by the way. But I was the same age as everyone, or they were older than me, and it was really hard for me to not want to be their friends. And some of them are my friends to this day, so that was worth it. But on that day on May 23rd, I didn't want to go to the liquor store, and I didn't know how to listen to my body, and I should have said no. And I think I tried to say no, but now when I say no, it actually matters. So over the last week, I went to the Biohackers conference on Saturday. Then I met a man it wasn't a date. It was like he had an espresso, and then he was flying to Europe at midnight, and this was like around 5:30. And I ate sushi in front of him which is like, so like, when I told the girl who does my lashes, I told her this yesterday, and she's like, what? You ate in front of him? And it's like, I'm not against eating in front of people, but a lot of times I don't want to get food in my teeth, number one. And two, I'm not hungry. And so she and I had like lunch during the day, and I don't do proper fast, but one of the things that I do actually really believe in is empty before you refill. And that's actually an Ayurvedic practice. And it's something that I truly believe in. And like often I don't fill until later in the day. Sometimes I'll have like a protein drink or something, like I'm not going to die, right? But I'm not hungry till later in the day. So I didn't eat with her, and she was like, the whole point was to eat. And so with him, I happened to be really hungry that day. I also had like a low grade migraine. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat something. And I did. And I was really proud of myself for eating in front of a person that I didn't know, like, and not caring, because nobody likes seeing a fat girl eat. Like, just nobody likes that. And that always lived in my head. Like, nobody likes seeing fat people eat. It's just society. They're like, you don't need more food. Or maybe that was maybe that was my mom in my head. My mom also told me that I was like a giant. She's like, you don't want to be fat and taller than your boyfriend. And like that was like in 2006. And so those things lived in my head for a long time, and they unfortunately impacted every decision I made at an unconscious level. And they made me feel really bad for a long time. And this is how I thought about myself, because that's how my mom looked at me, because her mom looked at her like that, and her mom looked at her like that before. But you could break those cycles. So I ate in front of a man, and then I took some more sushi home because I haven't been able to find any good sushi on this side of the river for quite some time. All I want is fresh fish. Nothing even complicated, just fresh to death. You know what I mean? And I took it home and I ate more of it. And I even had a little rice. And then I ended up connecting with a guy that lived on my street, and he has lived here for many years. So we ended up meeting up nearby, and I was like, why not? Right? Like, the whole idea is like not to be isolated, meet people, have engagements, have healthy engagements. Because the more healthy engagements that I have, it's neuroplasticity. It makes my body used to it more and more and more. And I'm so grateful for it. And they're organic. They're not like, I know there's a lot of people in the space that have these like very forced, hey, you can meet people and practice and do that. But like, this is in real world, and I'm able to rewire my nervous system through practice over time. So I was planning on doing more editing tonight, and then like, being the Aztec mermaid that I am tomorrow, and just like sunbathing because it's really hot and I like love the sun. But tonight there was a gentleman that invited me out, and I was like, you know what? My hair's done. Why not? So I'm going to be going out with him. But it's funny because nowadays, like, he even texted me before because he's coming from wherever. And I thought he was staying with his brother, but he's staying at a hotel. And he was like, oh, well, if you want, you're welcome to stay over. Like, no pressure either way. But, you know, you could stay over. And I haven't met this man yet, but you could stay over and there's AC. It's a vintage hotel. And I was like, it sounds great, but like, I'm not going to stay out that late, number one. Number two, I'm not going to stay with a stranger that I've never met in my life. I'm not going to agree to that beforehand, nor am I going to send pictures the way I used to. Like when men would ask for, oh, like there's a guy that wants to meet with me, like after the 4th of July holiday. And he'd been texting me, and like, even I could tell he like was like, hey, I hope you weren't offended by X. And I was like, no, but we already discussed that topic ad nauseum and it didn't require a response. And it's funny because I see now how these men are overthinking things, or they get angry when I'm like, we texted briefly on a Friday night. And by Sunday, I was like, I swiped their profile off just because we had their number already, but I also didn't intend on dating him. And these men are getting upset. They're like, well, I want to date. And I was like, you should, just not me. And I want to be honest with people. And I also want to be aligned. Like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And I'm not desperate anymore. I'm not looking for a quick, I'm not looking, to hate myself. I'm looking to build healthy engagements and better connections, and maybe make friends, maybe make lovers, maybe make professional networking opportunities. But there's always an opportunity there. You just have to be open-minded enough to see it. And for me, the opportunity is to rewire my nervous system and have healthy engagements in these moments. So I had 2 dates at a conference on Saturday. Sunday, I just like let my body be. And I was going to go by the pool, but I ended up getting stuck inside and doing all types of laundry and whatever. It wasn't the best day. I've been working really hard at my sex and love addiction, and being sober is one of the best parts of it because I could see things so clearly. And when you think about safety, right? When you're not clear-headed, you don't have clarity, and you're not connected to yourself when you're drunk or buzzed, you make poor decisions. And I made all those decisions like sober. Like, all my decisions, even though they could be the worst decisions, they were made with a level of logic, believe it or not. It's just faulty logic. And now I'm not like, I'm happy to sit at a bar with you and drink my club soda and mind my business and smoke my pot. The pot just chills me out. It doesn't make me make poor decisions. So I feel really grateful for that. And it's interesting too, because on some of the apps, you could see whether the person, what their political affiliation is. And, I don't like to judge people by that. At one point, I was very judged. Like, I was also like in adrenal fatigue and having a complex trauma, PTSD or PTSR reaction that was undiagnosed yet, and I would have judged people. But now for me, it actually just creates a level of safety, because if you don't have a shared reality, like I had a very specific conversation with someone this weekend, and we do not have a shared reality. And that's really dangerous when you're trying to have any type of partnership, whether it's professional, personal, or friendships, and family, romantic, whatever that looks like. If you cannot have a shared reality, it's almost impossible to do anything. And that's what I've also noticed through what has gone on in my dysfunctional marriage situation. I always say that that values dictate behavior. And when our values aren't aligned and you don't see the reality that I'm living in, and you don't believe the things that are on the news or whatever that is, how are we supposed to live in a society together? And it's kind of how I'm in this situation too, because his family like just doesn't give a at all. They think they have no obligation to do anything, and this mother is totally ill-equipped. And now I'm like in a really dangerous situation that I should never have been in. I should have gotten out a long time ago. But when I think about engaging with people, whether it's personal or professional, if we don't have a shared reality, I'm not going to continue this further. And that's also some of the reasons why I've like pushed back on these types of opportunities. Because I'm like, I don't want to get myself in a position where we just don't see eye to eye. And it's like very clear to me. And I don't also like really hate having those political conversations. Are exhausting. This has been, a significant part of our society, the fabric of our society, the conversations of our society for over a decade. It's like enough is enough. And I'm just not desperate enough to do that. But I'm also wise enough to know when to extract myself from a situation and not to put myself into it further. Even if I need the money, even if I could use the consulting opportunity, I will just say no, because the no is for peace of mind, safety. If you don't have a shared reality, there's no opportunity for safety. And you need to have a reality with yourself, right? A shared reality with yourself. So it's really important when you think about engaging with others, do you have a shared reality? And, of all the companies I ever worked for, I had a really bad boss in 2021, which I realized was 20 years after 2001 when I graduated. 2001, like Dr. Dre. Just chill to the next episode. But I realized that my body literally responded 20 years to the year that was our, we used to call that, like, that's when everything happened. Like, my ex-husband would joke, like, oh yeah, when everything happened. But like, then it became my entire existence. And my body literally responded to it 20 years later. And it responded to it in a way that hasn't ever happened to anybody in my immediate family that I know of. And it was really scary, and it is scary. It's scary that this happened. So that's why I'm so committed to nervous system literacy for all, because it really can solve most of society's problems. It's truly a panacea for society. And, safety is achieved in so many different ways. But if we don't have the ability to communicate and be authentic and be safe in ourselves, there's no way that we could create those connections with others. So today's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, as I just looked at the clock and it's 8:08. Money making, money making. I'm just going to start singing songs in the middle of it. That was Beastie Boys. Before it was Dr. Dre, 2001. But I'll also be posting, if YouTube didn't have all of these music licensing issues, you could see me rap and sing and do like ridiculous things to all songs, all genres, because I truly, only music can save us, and music is medicine, and I use it for nervous system regulation, and I use it to also remember who the F I am. But I told this man that I would be there in the city by like 8:45. So this might be a short episode today, but it's so interesting for me to see now with, to go, they always say that healing, right, is revisiting the same places over and over with new eyes and no ego. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been saying things that I'm like, hey, if you're not in agreement with it, that's cool. We're good. I'm just telling you that I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. And most of the men have been really, like, honestly, all of them have been really receptive. They've been really kind. They've been really cool about it. I mean, what are they going to say? No, I want to rape you. Like, most of them are like, oh, I see this romantically, or I want to do something else. And that's cool too. Like, I'm just not going to continue to put myself in dangerous situations because I don't need to anymore. I'm not desperate. I'm not making decisions out of desperation. And I'm also not I also see things like really clearly. And I'm just really proud of myself. And I just wanted to share that little bit with you, because you can date without disaster, but it all starts with finding safety in your mind, body first, and finding happiness in yourself. Like, outsourcing it to others, not being able to be alone. Like, people are like, hey, do you want to hang out? Do you want to hang out? Do you want to hang out? And I'm like, how much time have you spent with yourself in the X amount of time, right? Like, spend some time with yourself, get to know yourself really well. Because when you do that, you make such better decisions. And I've spent the most amount of time with myself over the last few years. And I really got to know myself. And now I know my thresholds, I know my limitations, I know my capacity, and I know my power. Because when you reframe pain and release shame, you could reclaim your power. So together we rise. Just chill to the next episode. And don't be a Richard, and join us for the next episode. How cute is this outside bar at the Highline Hotel? Be a tourist in your own city. It's kind of amazing. Look how beautiful this is. I'm so happy that I found it through serendipity and meeting new people. How cool is this? Also, I feel so cute. Wearing all my clothes, drinking my recess, minding my business. It's Lauren season. I have a full moon ritual, but it's really no different than my everyday ritual, which is make love to this river, which I do every day. But I almost walked right by the moon situation. I had no idea. I knew the full moon was coming, and I just didn't see it. I thought this guy was just taking pictures of the skyline. I was like, I do it every day. He's like, no, look at the moon, and it's gorgeous. Thank you so much for watching the On Me IRL pod with your host, Lauren Friedman, not another healing asshole. If you want to support the mission and the project and this channel, the quickest way to do that is to hit the subscribe button. Also, if you're so inclined, please like, share, and comment any thoughts in the comments below. I will personally be responding to them. And if any of the products that I showcase or wear or speak about are interesting to you, please don't forget to shop them in the links above, including but not limited to merch with the perp, as well as all of my affiliate products, including Camuso Design, Recess, Routine, Built, as well as Equip, and more. Always adding more each day to better ourselves, because together we rise from me to me IRL. I just want to share some of the brand partners that really help save my sanity, help my nervous system, and just keep me sane and from losing my mind each day. So first is Camuso. Camuso is a breathing tool that helps you regulate your nervous system in real time. And before we dive in, I'd like to do a little breathwork exercise together. So I like to do a 4-4-8 breath. And what you do is you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, and then you exhale slowly for 8. And that is where the magic happens. And that is where your heart rate gets reduced, your blood pressure gets reduced, your sanity comes back, your will to live, and your body literally can get regulated from a state of dysregulation to a state of regulation in real time. So let's do it together. It's literally magic. Like you could feel the difference. You can literally feel the shift. That's why it's called the Camuso shift. The next thing is Quit protein bars with 20 grams of grass-fed protein, as well as Built protein bars with 17 to 20 grams of protein as well. That has whey protein in it. Both of those things help you stay regulated. They keep you fuller. They help build amino acids, which keeps your brain from having brain fog. It helps you think clearer, and it just helps you stay saner. The next thing that I'm absolutely obsessed with is morning routine. Morning routine is an electrolyte that is only 3 ingredients. It's literally apple cider vinegar, organic lemon, and sea salt. It's so delicious, and it's literally my favorite way to hydrate. I'm a wateraholic. I carry around a 64-ounce water bottle just for fun. I've been drinking water my whole life, and I stopped drinking a few years ago, which is why I love Recess as well for the sobriety spectrum drinks. But literally all of these things keep us regulated, they keep us hydrated, they keep us sane, they keep us full, and they just keep us from losing our minds. So that's what I'm doing. You can find all the links to buy those products in the links above.